Well, Ulises, Kevin Kiermaier has found a new home.
He has in artificial turf. Questions. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. Be sure you check out our podcast on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays, and shoot us an email anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. We have a lot to discuss over the course of this week's episode, but we figured let's kick it off with some significant news of Kevin Kiermaier staying in division in the AL East. Not with the Rays, but with the Toronto Blue Jays. Ulises, your first initial impressions when this news came down the pipeline. And I might add that as of this recording, I still cannot find or locate a contract figure of what he has with the Blue Jays. I don't know if it's 1 year, 2 year. I don't know if it's for 8 million, 10 million, 20 million. So it's a mystery as far as I'm concerned, unless some other internet sleuth has been able to uncover the mystery.
I haven't been that internet sleuth. I have not found the terms of the contract. I think the first thing, I was disappointed that it was within the division. I think the Longo approach is way better for those race players that have been there for a long time. Just get them the heck out of our line of vision, so our fandom can heal. But I guess, like I said in the open, it must have been the best overall contract stipulation that he received, because to stay in a stadium that has turf, and I don't know, I don't think that's the right thing for somebody who has always been hurt by so many injuries and playing in that type of field. Like, I understand. Look, he lives in Tampa. He's not going to, move his family. So within the division, the couple of trips down to Tampa, or St. Pete, that helps. Obviously, I get it. But I would have thought that, playing in in a grass stadium would have been up there in his factors of where am I going. But I guess, it ultimately wasn't.
Question: is the Blue Jays turf different or significantly different from the turf that the Rays use? I don't know the answer to that question.
You know who could answer that question? Kiermaier's brother, who is the what is it? The groundskeeper,
head groundskeeper of the Chicago Cubs, which honestly I thought he would have wound up with a National League team, be it the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Cardinals, the Phillies. I thought they would have been a good play as well. So, yeah, it's interesting because he has griped and complained and moaned about the turf. Of course, as you mentioned, being able to make some trips back to Tropicana Field and having spring training in Dunedin, being able to at least stay with his family a little bit longer and make more frequent trips in that regard, I'm sure has some added value. And plus, maybe he's gotten to the point in his career where it's like, hey, I want to play. I don't want to have to go to an environment like the Phillies, the Cubs, a cold where it's going to be cold outdoors for the first 2 months of the season, first 2.5 months of the season. I would rather, for the most part, at least have my home environment be contained under a roof in a controlled environment. So maybe that adds some perspective as well to that.
And how many times has he played in Toronto? I mean, he knows how the stadium feels. So maybe there's a level of comfortability out there too. So, that's great. Now, as we said earlier, as you pointed out, there haven't been any years or number figures attached to it. The most we received was the Dodgers and the Blue Jays for the last two, and then he chose Toronto. So
Right.
to you, Kevin Weiss, not Kevin Kiermaier, to you, Kevin Weiss, what do you think? Let's play a little game on a Sunday evening. I mean Monday. What do you think will be the contract stipulations here for Kevin Kiermaier and the Toronto Blue Jays?
I'll tell you that. But first, we have to tell you about BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. It's where you can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there: football, basketball, soccer, esports. It is all covered at betonline.net. You should know by now it is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. So head over to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Interesting question. If I had to guess off the top of my head, 1 year, $10 million with some incentives built in based on the number of games played, with possibly a team option for a second year. That's what I have at this point. That would be my best guesstimate.
Not a bad guesstimate at all. I think it's really good. Just to not be, I think you got it right, but just to kind of not say, yeah, that's it. I'll go with 2 years, 14 million. 2 years, 14 mil.
So $7 million a year.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. So you think he's guaranteed that second year?
No, not at all. But I just don't want to say the same thing that you said.
Right, I understand. Okay.
I'll put it something else. But I think it most likely will be one guaranteed year, and then a team option for the second one. But just to not do the same thing as you did, I'll go 2 years, 14.
How much of this, if at all, do you think is this Kevin Kiermaier getting back at the Rays? Of, I'm going to go to a division rival and I'm going to prove you all that I still have it and that you shouldn't have declined my option, even though they still paid $2.5 million, and the Rays have given him millions upon millions over the last half decade plus. So they've certainly paid him handsomely. But the inner fire of Kevin Kiermaier to go back and prove the Rays wrong and one up the Rays before.
I think it's a very small factor in staying with the Blue Jays. I think it was more of the family aspect, comfortability factor, the fact that the Jays are in the hunt. They're a playoff team. He doesn't need to go to a team where it's going to be, oh my goodness, we're only going to win 65 games.
Right.
That's awful. I think those are more bigger factors into going into Toronto than let me get back at the Rays. But I mean, he's a competitor. So obviously he kind of, in the spectrum of slighted or not slighted, I think he's going to feel a little bit slighted that him being the face of the franchise for the last 10 years was essentially given a buyout and was not even, considered to be for any type of role for 2023. So I think that's a very small factor. But yeah, why not? Maybe a 2% on that decision.
What I'm curious about is the reaction from the Blue Jays fan base. I have not honestly scrolled through or checked the comments or social media from a Blue Jays perspective because we know the Blue Jays, they went out and traded Teoscar Hernandez, and there had been so much, just like the Rays, the need for a left-handed bat. Well, technically, the Blue Jays did get that in Kevin Kiermaier, but probably not the left-handed bat that the fan base for the Blue Jays expected. But again, I think Kiermaier is going to bring a lot of value to a Blue Jays team that we've talked about endlessly of their outfield. Just we've seen some of the outfield gaffes that team has made over the years, and plus they are making some changes to the Rogers Center outfield walls dimension and shape, and just bringing a veteran who has a winning culture and brings a great clubhouse vibe to a team that it's not like they're hurting for offense necessarily, even with getting rid of Teoscar Hernandez. They still have Vladdy. They still have Chapman. They still have Springer. That's another question, is who's going to play center field? Is it going to be Kiermaier or Springer? Bichette, Kirk, Jansen, Gurriel. So honestly, at the end of the day, I think they probably will add that other left-handed bat. That's still probably a priority for them, but it never hurts to shore up your defense for sure. But for a team like the Blue Jays, who've spent a lot of money over the years and given up some major contracts, I just wonder from the fan base perspective of you have everything else that's going out in the baseball sphere of see what Aaron Judge gets, see what Trey Turner gets, see what Xander Bogaerts gets, Brandon Nimmo, Justin Verlander, Wilson Contreras, and then you have the little footnote of, oh yeah, and the Blue Jays signed Kevin Kiermaier, as opposed to a Michael Brantley or something along those lines.
Yeah. Of course, the expectation is going to not be Kevin Kiermaier if you're a Blue Jays fan. And I understand that. And I have read through Blue Jays fans' comments on it. A lot of them are saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe that this is Teoscar Hernandez's replacement. And a lot of Blue Jays fans are saying, are screaming back at them, no, idiots, it's Tapia's replacement. He's just coming in as a fourth outfielder.
Right.
That's a lot of the comments that you see from Blue Jays fans. I've also seen the respectful ones that go like, oh man, he's great to have for defense. The lineup's gonna have to pick him up. Which, by the way, I know we have said this endlessly because I have these numbers memorized. Kevin Kiermaier, over his career, has a 97 WRC plus, people. That's only 3 points below all major league players, regardless of position. So I am throwing out first basemen there. I am throwing out third basemen that can crank the ball, right fielders, big boys. He is only 3 points down from above average.
Yeah. Counterpoint to all that, Kevin Kiermaier is no longer 27 or 28 years old. He's 32 going on 33 years old. And last season he hit 228 with a 649 OPS and only played in 63 games and has hip issues.
But you said it yourself 3 minutes ago. He is going into a team where offense is not an issue. So this is a fantastic landing spot for KK. He knows he's not going to be out there, like he was in Tampa at times, like, dude, come through with the bat here. Like, he doesn't have to do that. He's got like 5 guys in front of him that the fandom is going to be really looking for them to produce. Kevin Kiermaier is going to be a footnote of like, oh yeah, he hasn't had a hit in 10 days. I didn't care because everybody else is hitting. Like, it's going to be okay.
And beyond that, just besides, we know what he does and can bring from a defensive perspective, but that also has to have a great effect on the pitching staff and knowing, okay, we have an elite, confident, experienced outfielder roaming the Rogers Center or wherever they're playing on the road. Moreover, the shift rules could create greater value for really good outfielders where you can no longer, as far as I know, you can't put that second baseman out in short right field. Right.
No,
so,
but you could put that left fielder right there. And so now you are only left with 2 outfielders, and boy, they better cover ground. Kevin Kiermaier could cover that ground. No, again, I don't see this at all, but as a win for Kevin Kiermaier. Good for you for staying in a competitive team and staying somewhere that again, he knows the AL East very, very well. And the opposition does know him too, so I guess that is kind of a wash for him.
Right.
But just the comfortability factor of not changing too much after being in the league for 10 years in one team, I think it might have been a very smart move for him to just kind of stay with a lot of commonalities. He'll still do a lot of the same trips, a lot of the same faces again. I think it was smart
and honestly, I don't even think, the wash offensively speaking for sure, but defensively speaking, he's navigated the waters of Fenway Park and Yankee Stadium and Tropicana Field and Rogers Center and the Orioles ballpark with their, now it's a cavernous place to hit a ball. So that even provides more push on Kiermaier to be able to make plays out there too. So I think, it's a really good pickup for the Blue Jays. And legitimate question is, who's going to win more games this upcoming year? Is it going to be the Blue Jays or the Rays? It's, the offseason is still very young in its infancy for sure. But I'm sure that Kiermaier also had a goal of, I want to play on a competitive team that has some upside. And that's certainly the Blue Jays.
Well, and if you're looking for something that is competitive and has an upside, then you're looking for SimpliSafe, Kevin, because we've told you about it. SimpliSafe was named the best home security system of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report for a third year in a row. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify that the threat that is happening is real, so you can get higher priority police response. Okay, it's a whole new type of home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. So today, do not miss your chance to save big on our favorite security system. Get 40% off any new system at simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonmlb. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
All right, before we get to some listener comments on the Kiermaier signing, and by listener comments, I mean Rays fans, not Blue Jays fans per se, but some over-unders here for Kevin Kiermaier in a Blue Jays uniform in 2023. Over-under, Ulises, 110 games played.
Under.
Okay. Under 100?
No, I think he's right there with 110 is a very nice figure for him. Yeah. I'm going to go 107.
That's probably about what he's averaged. Like if you combine it all, the number of games he's played in his career divided by the number of years played, it probably evens out to about 107.
I think so. I think so. Out of the top of my head, I think 107 is probably 115 range, yeah.
Okay. Over under 700 OPS.
Ooh, sorry, KK. Although, just real quick, if everybody's looking at everybody else in the lineup, he might sneakily not being given a lot of attention by other pitchers. So that means that they might throw him a little bit less nasty than with the Rays. So easier pitches, i.e. fastballs. Yeah. He can dominate fastballs. I'm still going to go under.
Okay. Well, okay, that's fair. Over under 12 home runs.
Again, same answer here with the previous one. I think it's going to be like a 685 OPS and 8 home runs.
Okay. Does he win? This isn't an over-under, but does he win another Gold Glove in his career?
The time to win Gold Gloves for KK are now finished, unfortunately. Because he has gotten, I think, 2 years where he was kind of snubbed out of it.
Yeah.
At this age, I think he would have to be out of this world for him to be even nominated again. I'm sorry. Just BBWA writers do not function that way.
And let's be frank, when you're only playing, if you're only going to post 107 games, hard to win a Gold Glove in that manner and in that fashion as well. Getting to some comments here, Quinlan Deegan says he's definitely going to deliver 1 to 2 walk-off wins over Tampa Bay next season. That's certainly possible and capable for Kiermaier. R. Hill says, good for KK. I wish he would have landed somewhere with grass and out of the division. Glad to see him land somewhere, though. Joshua Garner says, good for him, but a shame he is going to have to get abused by Rays pitching. Yeah, that is something that could be a sight right there. Walter Rosado, Alejandro Kirk, and KK potential buds. Yeah, we didn't even mention the whole Cardgate scandal. I wonder if the Blue Jays would have signed Kevin Kiermaier if Charlie Montoyo was still the manager of the ball club, because from what I understand, Montoyo still has never given up or forgiven that whole scandal. Like, he was I read a report that he was still talking about it in spring training of this past season. So it was definitely within the hearts and the minds of him. But of course, he's no longer part of the organization. Jake Stokes says, sad to see him go, but it was time. Can't blame the guy for getting more money. I don't know if he got more money. I would doubt he was going to get. What was he do with the Rays if the buyout wasn't given? $13 million?
It was 13, but the buyout, it was 2.5, correct?
Correct.
So, in essence, if he does get 1 year 11, then he would be making 13.5, ergo making more than with the Rays. So,
but I don't know. That I'm very curious to see what the terms of this deal are.
Yeah.
Jake also says at least we'll get to see him a couple times a year. That is true.
Yep.
Dustin Payne says mixed emotions, but it was time. Chris says don't care. Can't wait to see our pitching staff strike him out. Rays need to bring back Longo in another bat. Don't disagree with you there. Alex Mullins, interesting that he picked somewhere to play on turf. I would think he would go somewhere else to improve his health. Peter Glasgow says he's a good guy. He deserves the incoming pay increase. Again, I don't know if it's a pay increase necessarily. And then a sourpuss on Twitter says, who gives an F if Toronto wants a cooked center fielder with a bad hip? I'm all for it. Okay. There you go with that. Does Kevin Kiermaier, final thing here, does Kevin Kiermaier's number get retired by the Rays when it's all said and done? We look back 10, 15 years from now.
100%. Absolutely. It will. It should. Numbers retired have more to do with what you did, what you meant for that team than what they did for baseball. That's the point that I take. Everybody else can have their opinion, obviously, and write it down in your comments if you think that KK should be in the have his number retired by the Rays. I think so, but I will put a stipulation on it. It will not happen before Longo's gets retired. Longo will be the first. Longo is the next guy. So if that happens in 10 years, then KK gets retired in 12 years. It will never. KK's number will not get retired unless Longo's has already been retired. 100%.
Right. No, that's very fair. Man, I should have done this over under too. If Kevin Kiermaier, I'm looking at his baseball reference page right now. If he'll eclipse 100 home runs in his career, he's at 82 right now. He hit 0 last year, 0 in 63 games. He hit 7 in 2021 in 122 games. And of course, the pandemic season, 49 games, he hit 3. So he's got some work to do.
So he needs
the days
18.
of the double-digit homers in a season for KK might be gone.
So he needs 18. How many years do we give KK of regular quote-unquote KK playing time, which is 100 games? I would give him like 3 more seasons. So 18 divided by 3, he would need like 6 a season. It's doable.
Yes, it's doable.
It's doable. Come on,
Oh,
KK.
absolutely doable, for sure.
Come on.
But it's not a gimme necessarily.
I wouldn't put a lot of green Skittles on BetOnline. I'll tell you that much. But
no.
I could put some Skittles. A Skittle, maybe? 1 Skittle.
Man, if Kevin Kiermaier, again, I'm just looking at his BREF page right now, reminiscing. If he was able to give you what he gave you in 2017 with that 788 on OPS, 276 batting average, 15 homers, and he gave you the defense and stayed healthy.
Look at 2015 too. 2015 was yums, man. Yums.
We could have been talking about him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway, all right. There it is. Kevin Kiermaier, congratulations to you for continuing to get major league contracts and millions. And again, this is a guy that was a 31st round draft pick out of a little known college and from northwest Indiana, not necessarily a hotbed for professional baseball players.
After he is done and over and has put the cleats away, I hope he becomes like a motivation. I see him as a motivational speaker. He likes the lights. He likes the camera. Yeah. He looks good in front of the camera. So that helps too. Just talk about, what the belief in him like how you can achieve things, because nobody, obviously, 30 teams looked at him and said, nah,
Right.
A lot of nos happened before he even got drafted. So just an unbelievable career so far, unbelievable earnings so far, unbelievable achievements so far. I mean, this guy has had 3-run home runs in the playoffs, in the World Series. Like, he's a dude's dude. So good for him. And it'll be sad to see him in a new uniform, but I'm really happy that he's still playing.
And hopefully he stays long enough in the bigs to earn that pension. And again, in this day and age, with only 20-round drafts, Kevin Kiermaier might not have gotten that shot or the opportunity.
Correct.
That's a legitimate question. And, if he was drafted in 2021 or 2022 or 2023 or something like that. All right. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen. Now make your next listen the Locked On Sports Today podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.